In this question, for this video, I'm going to ask a question that involves modeling the data, but also some instructions on how to model the data. So I'm going to connect to SQL, and I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. A lot of these concepts I've covered in other videos, like, for example, how you can use CSVs or notes. I'm going to use SQL here, and connect to a SQL server that's here on my laptop. I'm not going to specify the database. It'll hopefully figure it out based on the question I ask. And it shows me that it's connected to this particular SQL server. And the GPT it's using is this open source Llama 4. And the question I'm going to ask is, give me a model to predict rings. So rings is a column in a table called D underscore abalone. So if it pulls D underscore abalone, I know it has the right table. And then I'm going to tell it, use only 20% of the data for modeling, rest for testing, and show me training and testing performance and give a visual. Okay, so it's a fairly kind of complicated question to ask, particularly because the LLM has zero access to the data. So it's not able to auto execute any queries and get to those. So there's, privacy is pretty key here. So it has no access to the data except the schema. And then it's trying to answer, these questions that I'm asking it. So here it is. It actually produced 2 bits of code, and the first one gets pulled in here. That's kind of how this works. And I mean, it looks pretty good. It encoded the column that's categorical, so it doesn't mess up when it tries to run. Apparently, it's trying to run random forest regressor. It's a fairly complicated piece of code, but it's trying to do what I asked it to do. Okay, so let me run it, see if I run into any errors. I produced the answer that I wanted. Okay, great. So it has the training performance and testing performance. And it has this really nice visual. So it tells me that I actually haven't seen a visual. That's the other thing is when you're using LLMs to produce code, you learn things. This is such a helpful representation of training versus testing. So I can see that the training data fit is pretty good. That's this orange data. And then the blue data is the testing data. So it kind of in one visual tells me how training and testing are going. And of course, it gives me numbers too. And I could stop the video here, but let me go one bit further and ask it to analyze it. So, I have the results here, I have the image, I have these numbers here. Let me see what it means if I ask it to analyze it. What it's going to do is it's going to run an analysis of it. So the code is designed to predict the number of rings in the abalone using random forest regressor. Here's a concise analysis of results. The model was trained on 20% of data, tested on remaining 80%. That was the request. The training has an R-square of 0.93, so that's pretty good. However, testing is significantly worse with R-square of 0.53. Okay, so indicates overfitting. So it has a conclusion, which I agree with here. That makes sense. The plot shows that the model tends to underpredict the actual value, especially for higher ring count. So that's pretty useful. Bit of information, and then more information as well. So we can see that, even though the LLM, in this case, the open source Llama, has no access to the data, that doesn't mean that we can't get conclusions and analysis as well as fairly complicated code that does try to answer the question that we are asking. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it shows you the possibilities of using LLMs with data analysis. Feel free to write any comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.